بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. MashaAllah, we all know when we begin the recitation of the Quran, and honestly for any action which we're doing for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we always seek refuge in Allah from shaitan. And that's specifically been stated for the recitation of the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنِ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ, that when you recite the Quran, then you seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from shaitan, because shaitan, obviously, he does not want us to do any type of khair whatsoever. And when you're doing the best type of khair, which is the recitation of the Quran, then he is going to try in all types of ways, all types of fashions to try to stop you. And usually the majority of the opinion of the scholars is that that needs to take place prior to the recitation, that you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, before you actually begin the recitation. But there's another opinion as well which states that you say it after the recitation, and that's based upon just the order of the verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنِ, when you read the Quran, then after that seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from shaitan. So that's taking it kind of the literal, what's coming first, the recitation first, then the ta'awudh, and seeking refuge in Allah. But the majority opinion is, as you all know, is saying the ta'awudh and saying the basmalah before we begin. Now, as far as Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, this is what most importance as well, that we recite the basmalah as well. Okay, and we see it written between every single surah, besides one surah. Which surah is that? Tawbah, right? Besides Surah Tawbah. So in all the other surahs, it's written right in the beginning of the surah. And there's varying opinions whether it comes before every surah, or whether you recite it out loud or you don't recite it out loud. We don't need to talk about that right now. But what we do know for a fact is that it comes at least once in the Quran. That Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim comes at least once in the Quran. So if you were to recite the whole Quran and not say the Basmalah once, not say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim once, you technically would not have finished the whole Quran. So you have to make sure. That's why you'll even see, Hufad, when they're reciting in Taraweeh, they'll say Basmalah out loud at least once. At least once, they'll say the Basmalah out loud. That's to show for certain that I'm reciting the Basmalah at least once. Okay, it's being recited at least once in the Taraweeh. Now, that's before the actual recitation takes place. Now, when we're actually reading the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, He poses the question that أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنِ, that will they not ponder over the Quran? And when we think about the word tadabbur or pondering, it's not just mere recitation. Any 5-year-old can just read the Quran. 3-year-old can just read the Quran. But we're talking about actual tadabbur, actual tafakkur, actual pondering over the meaning of the verses. Right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ إِلَيْكَ مُبَارَكٌ لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ, that we reveal this book to you, we reveal this blessed book to you. Why? لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ, not so you just read. Anybody can just read a book. That's not the purpose of it. لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ, right? لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ, so that you ponder over the verses, you ponder over the meanings. That's how it's going to have an impact. Yes, we know the Quran is going to have an impact even when we read it. We know that. We have rewards, yes. But you want to get the most out of your recitation. That's why you do tadabbur of the verses as well. That's why you read the meanings of the verses. That's why you sit in tafsir classes. That's why you sit and you read the tafasir. That's why you do that. So you have tadabbur. If you don't know Arabic, then you go learn Arabic. And if you don't have the energy, then you listen to tafasir and you read the tafasir of the scholars. But time and time again, you'll see scholar after scholar, they didn't just focus on the recitation of the Quran, but they focused on the actual meaning and reading of it. There's a Bahiz ibn Hakim, famous scholar. He stated that the tabi'i Zurar bin Awfa. One time he was leading Fajr Salah, and he was reciting Surah al-Mudaththir from the beginning. And when he got to the verse, فَإِذَا نُقِرَ فِي النَّاقُورِ فَذَلِكَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَوْمٌ عَسِيرٌ فَإِذَا نُقِرَ فِي النَّاقُورِ فَذَلِكَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَوْمٌ عَسِيرٌ. And they were reciting it. He gets to this verse, and when the trumpet is blown, فَذَلِكَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَوْمٌ عَسِيرٌ. That day, that's a real difficult day. That's going to be a really difficult, hard test. When he said that verse, it impacted him so much, he fell there right on the spot. Unconscious, passed away right on the spot. Why? How? Because the meaning impacted him so much. And when you hear the Imam, when you hear the Hafiz Sahib reciting the surahs that you know, and you know the meanings, doesn't it feel it has such a big impact on your heart? It has such a big impact on your heart. And when you know the reason for revelation, the sabab al-nuzul, has even more of an impact. Think about the Sahaba. I mean, the Quran was revealed about them. We're the secondary audience, right? They were the primary audience of the Quran. So when they heard the verses, they broke down. They broke down. Not just because they knew Arabic. That was obviously a key part of it. But it was revealed about them. Right? The Quran was revealed about them. So I don't want it to just think that Ramadan comes and it's the time to just read the Quran. Okay, we got to make goals afterwards as well, and how can we understand the Quran throughout the whole year as well. So when Taraweeh time comes, and we're listening to the whole Quran in Taraweeh, we actually enjoy the recitation even more. Not just the beauty of the voice. That's one aspect of it. That the Qari, that the Hafiz will recite the Quran in a beautiful manner. That's good. But beyond that we try to understand the meaning of it as well. And I'll wrap up with one last narration by Ibrahim al-Khawas, who was granted many spiritual gifts. He said that there are 5 medicines for the heart. There are 5 medicines for the heart. He started off, number 1 is reciting the Quran with pondering. Reciting the Quran with tadabbur. Not just reciting the Quran, but reciting the Quran with actual tadabbur, with actual pondering. Number 2, which we all have right now, is emptying the stomach. Emptying the stomach. That's number 2. Number 3, he says standing at night. Standing for salah at night. Why? Nobody else sees you, but you're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 4 is making dua. Again, when? Not in front of everybody, but making dua at the last part of the night. Again, nobody else sees you. And then number 5, hopefully inshallah gathering like this, is sitting with the righteous. Just sitting there, just being the company of the righteous. It impacts it. It's a means of cure for your heart. He said these are the 5 remedies and these are the 5 medicines for the heart. And when we try to implement these, inshallah you'll see much khair, not only in just your life, but in the life of everybody in your household and everybody in the community. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant shifa in our hearts. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.